Hello. I missed you guys. One godless woman. No politics today. I was thinking the other day about how I was a slave under Islam. And I was enslaved by this ideology. And then, you know, the argument that the left has pushed and indoctrinated a lot of people with, and especially with regards to women in Islam, and that the head covering and the burqa, the abaya, the niqab, the hijab, that this is their human, you know, it's their choice, it's their human right to dress this way. But the argument that I have actually goes against it, because slavery is outlawed, is it not? And when the gut reaction, I always say follow your gut instinct. When you see a woman dressed this way, do you feel happy? Do you feel joy? Do you feel like this is the right choice for these people and that you must respect that this is their choice? Or do you feel awkward? And like for me, when I was once in a pharmacy and I come from this, right? And a full veiled burqa, every ninja, right? Sat next to me. And I decided I usually get up and move. That's how I usually react, because I refuse to be around any of this. So I said, you know what, there's not another chair, let me just wait. Maybe they'll call my name. I got increasingly uncomfortable. And I don't think it was even 10 minutes before I got up and I had to move. I did not want to be sitting next to this person, because it felt like an invasion of my personal space. I did not want this next to me. So I did a little bit of research. I want to understand, I want to know, what is slavery? How is slavery defined? So there's a few points. There's 4 points that define slavery through my research that I found. And you're welcome to do your research, and please comment if you disagree with any of this. So the first point is that slaves, or people who are slaves, who have been made to become slaves, are forced to work through coercion, mental, physical threat. So they are coerced through mental or physical abuse. Now, I want to compare this to Islam. So when we were born into this ideology, it's not a choice. You're born into it and you're stamped with it. Growing up under Islam as a little girl, we were forced to wear the hijab. It's just the way it is. I didn't suddenly at the age of 9 decide I want to wear the hijab, and I went to my mom and dad and said, this is my choice, I want to do this. It doesn't happen this way. What happens is you become indoctrinated in schools and by your family and your relatives and the culture and the society and everything around you. First of all, with threats of the ultimate supreme being very angry with you. And so that's mental control. Nobody wants a supreme being to be angry with them. As a 9-year-old child, who would want that? And you grow into this. It doesn't change, right? Because you've already been coerced as a little child to do this, to dress this way. So should you rebel as you age, the physical harm and the abuse begins, right? So there was a case in Saudi Arabia, I think it was 2002, maybe 2003. You're welcome to look it up, in Mecca. There was a school, it was an all-female school that there was a fire. Fire started in the school. And the teachers and the little girls were trying to get out of the school very quickly. But where I come from in Saudi, usually, actually not usually, almost always, the religious police are parked outside of the female school. They don't park outside the boys' school, they park outside the only female school. Don't know why. And they harass all the girls to cover up and blah, blah, blah. So the girls started running out of the school without being covered. They were scared, so they didn't have their abayas or their hijabs. So the religious police pushed the girls back in the school, along with the teachers, And they locked the doors, they secured the doors from the outside so no one can come out, and the girls died. There was it was tragic, the amount of girls that died. So what would you call that? Tell me what that is. And it's the same. I could not exit the school. I would be checked as I left the school at the end of the day. They would check my face cover, if it's proper, if there's any hair showing. You would not be allowed to leave. Is that not slavery? Don't you think? And on top of that, you have the mental imagery of what you're taught and the brainwashing in school, that you will burn over and over and over and over again in hellfire if you don't cover up, because Allah is watching your every move and He can see if a strand of hair is showing. Can you believe this? Man, He must have some serious glasses. And it's the same with fasting. You know, you beat a child from the age of 7 for prayer and for fasting. It might be 10 for fasting. Doesn't matter, they're all children. You beat a child. If they don't pray, if they don't fast, if they don't listen to you, you beat them. This is in the Quran, it's in the Hadiths. There's no argument there. So that's, again, slavery, I would say. And as an adult, I remember back home in Saudi Arabia, my father claimed to be an atheist, right? He wasn't. But he claimed that he was. So he wouldn't pray. He wouldn't go to pray in the local mosques. There was 4 mosques around my house. He never went. He got a knock. We got a knock on our door by the religious police threatening him that if he did not go to pray, that they would take him to court because they're concerned that he's not praying. And he had to go. So the second point with slavery is the person is owned and controlled by an employer who mentally and physically abuse them or threaten them with abuse. So again, comparing this to Islam, it's yeah, we're owned by our families in Islam. You know, they own us, they control us, they own us. The male guardianship system is actually a big part, it's a big component of Islam. And if you don't listen to like for me, let me talk about me. When I was in Saudi Arabia, every time I got in trouble with religious police, because my family was unable to control me as much as they did, like I could not drive, but that's not my family, that's just the law of the land. Back then, now women can drive. I couldn't drive, I couldn't leave the house without my father's permission, and oh wow, if I ever did do that, it would be the end of me. You know, when I started to get in trouble for whatever reason, and it's so easy to get in trouble with religious police, your existence is a problem for them. So every other sentence would be, if you continue to behave this way, we are going to throw you to the religious police. We are going to put you there. And I am very aware of Dar al-Riaya, which is it's still operational in Saudi, in Riyadh. A horrible place. This is where all the disowned girls end up. It's a prison. It's a prison. Some of these girls are young teenagers. They're not allowed to go out, they're punished. And they're eventually, if one of the religious police, feels kindness in his heart to come and take one of these girls and marry her, that's the only way out of that place. So my family frequently threatened me by putting me in that housing, religious police housing for females, because they're sick of me, right? So yeah, I would say that's a check as well for me, for slavery. And then the third point is the dehumanization. Like, slaves are dehumanized. And they are treated as a commodity. They are bought and sold as property. That's my life under Islam, along with the life of every woman under Islam. We have a dowry, so it's essentially a purchase, when you get married. If you don't pick the person, you're not allowed, because you're a woman and you're stupid, so you can't decide for yourself who you're gonna marry and live with for the rest of your life and have kids with. Um, so it's a purchase, and the purchase, the big chunk of the money, the dowry, goes to the father. It goes to the family. The woman sees the little chunk of amount that the father ends up giving her, and she's allowed to use that on her, on her dress, on her jewelry, on the wedding, whatnot. But yeah, it's a purchase. It's a contract with money involved. The woman is moved from the father. She's the property of the father, and then she becomes the property of the husband. Simple. So the same rules that applied for the father, where he can beat her, where he can kill her, where she's not allowed to work without his permission, she cannot travel without his permission, whatever. It's the same with the husband. It just gets transferred to the husband. So I would check that as well. Yeah. And then the last point, which is the fourth one, is the physical restraint of slaves. Right? Like you see the pictures of slavery with the chains around their neck, the chains around their ankles. So there's a restriction that is placed on movement, and the freedom of movement is a universal human right, by the way. And if you look at the most of Muslim majority countries, the freedom of movement is taken away from women. I could not even open the door of my house and go out in the street without being arrested. That is a crime where I come from. Including the fact that, now I know that women in Saudi have just started driving, but you need to understand, before this they were not allowed to drive, and this was a big problem. Not only were they not allowed to drive, when I was in Saudi Arabia, if you were found in a cab, in a taxi, on your own, you would be arrested if you didn't have a note from your male guardian allowing you to take a cab on your own. There was a case of a female princess who fell in love many, many years ago. I think it was the 60s or the 70s. I'll try to find her name for you. Maybe I'll even find the little video and link it. It's called The Death of a Princess. She was arrested in the airport. She wanted to leave because she was in love with this man, and the royal family would not allow her to get married. So she dressed up as a man and went to the airport to escape, and she was caught. She was executed. I think that was the only case in Saudi Arabia of a princess being killed for trying to move freely. And add to that, we talked about the male guardianship system. Yeah, but yet here we are in Canada with Islam descending upon us, and Islamophobia motions, and M103s, and women claiming that it's their right to wear a niqab. When you see a woman in a burqa or a niqab, do you feel like she has a freedom of movement? Can this woman run quick, or is running a problem? That's my little video, just some educational content. Because I know you guys a lot of people here did not grow up under Islam, and they were not exposed to it. So the government pumping false information and lies to you via their mainstream media propaganda, unethical, biased, garbage machines. People believe this, what they're hearing, because they trust their government. It's the government. We elected these people. They must be good. So I lived under Islam, and I'm telling you that you're being lied to. Thanks, guys. Talk to you soon.